And he said not only could they agree on one, but they didn't have to agree on all. They could have four that agreed on one, four that agreed on another, four that agreed on another, if I'm understanding this right, and they'd call that a unanimous decision. Even if they don't have a unanimous jury, they're going to call it a unanimous jury. Jonathan, have you ever heard of such a thing?
No, it's outrageous. It very clearly violates the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt, unless you have all of the jurors agree. If there's one juror who doesn't, ordinarily that would be sufficient to acquit. I think this is an example of gross abuse of power by this judge, and I suspect that it's going to readily be overturned on appeal.
So what he's saying is that if 4 out of 12 jurors say yes on one charge and 8 don't, and 4 out of 12 on another charge say yes and 8 don't, and the same thing, 4 out of 12 and 8 don't, they're going to convict him anyway. I mean, honestly. How can this, I know this is a process, this legal thing, this justice system we have is a legal process. But how could this possibly stand up more than a few minutes? I mean, you have to go to an appeals court, but this should be an expedited appeal, should it not?
That's right, because it's so outrageous to not have the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt functioning by allowing less than a complete jury panel to decide your guilt. I mean, this is not criminal law in America.
So how can he, if it's not criminal law in America, which is not, nothing you've ever heard of, how long have you practiced law?
Well, 40 years.
Is that all? So for 4 decades, you've never heard of such a thing. 40 years is all, just 4 decades since I was a kid. Nothing personal, and here we are. Well, I guess we're breaking new territory here. And this is the problem that Americans have with the justice system today, not just with Donald Trump, but a two-tiered system of justice in general we see. We see people from the Trump circle get sent to prison for contempt of Congress, while numerous members of the Obama administration and now the Biden administration get hit with contempt of Congress, nothing happens. But if you're in Trump circle, if you're part of that deal, you face a different standard of justice, and I use that term very loosely, Jonathan. Right or wrong?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, the entire trial, this case is just a travesty of justice. There's no question about this being an absurd case from the start. The whole case is predicated on a novel theory that can't even withstand scrutiny as to causality. I mean, the fact that let's say that you could demand more than just legal fees on a business document. In the first instance, what is Trump trying to do? He's trying to get funding, he's trying to get support for something, and he's revealing the dollars spent on legal fees. What are the people who receive the document? What do they want to know? They don't want to know the details of the legal services provided. They want to know the cost. So there's no materiality to any falsehood here. There's no intent to deceive. So even if you assume an intent to deceive against the evidence, then how does this tie into an election in any way? First of all the information related to Stormy Daniels was already in the public. So the idea that this would somehow affect judgment or votes is beyond the rationality. It fails even just a basic logic test. And yet they have no evidence that anyone's vote was influenced in any way. They don't even present that evidence. So the whole thing is a ridiculous, really clearly biased political trial. We had hoped we would never see this in America, and now we're witnessing it writ large. This is the grossest abuse of justice, really, in our history, with rare exception. I just don't see how it's possible that this can withstand appeal.
And I want to ask you that. On that point, Jonathan, with your 40 years of experience, if this were your case, if this were your client, your defendant, if you will, what would you do to proceed next? I mean, because I'm saying an expedited review of this case is warranted for a variety of reasons, not just the 3 calls for mistrial or the fact that the prosecution got to run wild yesterday and say also they basically testified in the case. The fact that Stormy Daniels and whatever she did or did not do with the former president is irrelevant to the case. The fact that Michael Cohen, a convicted serial perjurer, is your star witness, and he's held up to some shining standard for which he can't achieve because he lied during the testimony in this case, we've been led to believe. can you ask for an expedited appeal? Can that happen? Can it be done?
Of course, and what you would ordinarily do is seek a stay of the judge's determination related to the verdict, and you would, seek first a judgment notwithstanding the verdict, but that would be denied. Then you'd seek a stay of the order, that would be denied. Then you go to the Court of Appeals and seek a stay of the lower court's determination, and then you would probably get it pending judicial review of your appeal. Because of the novel circumstances in this case, because of the novel arguments raised, you would ordinarily get a stay, and he would not go to prison. Now, they might temporarily, if he's convicted, put him in the hoosgow, but he would immediately be subject to release because of the absence of any sound foundation for this determination, or even the whole case. I mean, the whole case is a joke.